Today we're talking about a really specific group of people. Folks who often feel, well, generationally homeless. You're kind of stuck in that gap between two of the most talked about generations. Not quite a Gen Xer, but you're for sure not a millennial. So let's just get right to it with a simple question. Were you born somewhere in that window between 1977 and 1985? Because if you were, you've probably felt it your whole life, right? That feeling of not quite fitting in. You hear people talk about Gen X, and it's not really you. Then they talk about millennials, and you're like, nope, that's not me either.
And this is the tightrope you walk. You might look at the endless earnestness of millennials and think it's a bit much, but at the same time, you don't really have that deep, baked-in cynicism that defines so much of Gen X. You're just somewhere in between.
Well, guess what? There's actually a name for that middle ground. It's time to meet the Xennials, the special micro-generation that perfectly bridges that gap.
And honestly, the whole point here is for this to finally click, for that unique in-between feeling to finally make sense. The big takeaway? It's not just you. You're not alone in this. So what's the official definition? Well, a Xennial is someone who lived through a really specific, massive transition. You had a completely analog childhood. No internet, no smartphones. But then, you had a digital young adulthood, where you came of age right as the internet was arriving.
Let's look at where this fits on the timeline. You see Gen X pretty much wraps up around 1980, and millennials, they start right after that. But those Xennial years, from 77 to 85, that's the sweet spot. It's a distinct bridge that connects these two massive generations.
To really get the Xennial experience, we have to split it in two. So first, let's talk about that analog childhood. A world that existed entirely before the web just took over everything.
Oh man, this is pure nostalgia fuel. We're talking about the actual art of making a mixtape, hitting record at the perfect second, hoping the DJ wouldn't talk over the song. If you wanted to call a friend, you had to call their family's landline and talk to their parents first. In entertainment, it was dying of dysentery on the Oregon Trail in the school computer lab, or that shared cultural responsibility to be kind, rewind the tape from Blockbuster.
But then, right when Xennials were hitting their teens and early 20s, everything changed. So let's jump to the second half of this identity, the digital coming of age.
And this shift, it happened so fast. In what felt like the blink of an eye, we went from painstakingly recording songs onto a cassette to diving into the digital Wild West of Napster and Kazaa, downloading our very first, probably terribly named MP3 files. And the exact same revolution hit our social lives. We went from being literally tied to a wall by a phone cord to the absolute freedom of our first cell phone. And it was probably one of those indestructible Nokia bricks. Suddenly, you could actually make plans on the fly. And the gateway to this brand new digital world? It was this number, 56K. If you're an Xennial, I bet you can hear this slide right now. That iconic, screeching symphony of a dial-up modem connecting to the internet.
Yeah, this was the era. The era of that modem sound. Of learning how to type on a clunky beige keyboard, not a sleek laptop. Of spending way too much time crafting the perfect AIM screen name. And our cultural guides were this weird mix of epic adventure, like the Goonies, and that raw, painfully real teenage angst of my so-called life.
So, what do you get when you smash an analog childhood together with a digital adolescence? You get the Xennial synthesis. And this is exactly why this little micro-generation has such a unique and, frankly, important perspective on the world today.
Here it is. This is the core idea. Xennials are bilingual. They are completely fluent in the old-school language of analog, face-to-face communication, but they are also native speakers in the modern digital world. Their whole identity was forged in these two different worlds. Let's break it down. First, they learned and mastered social skills before the internet was a thing. Then, they had to adapt, on the fly, to the digital revolution as it was happening. And the result? They naturally became this perfect bridge between both ways of thinking.
And this unique position gives them what you could call the Xennial advantage. Just think about the modern workplace. You might have a Gen X boss who wants to solve every problem with a face-to-face meeting, and a millennial or Gen Z employee who defaults to sending a Slack message. The Xennial in the room, they get both. They can act as a translator, explaining the need for directness to one side and the efficiency of digital tools to the other. They bridge that communication gap because they've actually lived on both sides of it.
And that brings us to a final, pretty powerful thought. When you think about their unique place in history, could it be that Xennials are the very last generation to hold a living memory of what the world was like before the internet completely changed everything? It's a huge thought,
and it's really what makes them so special.